Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Highly Relatable, episode 3. This is going to be called Low Grade Friday. Looking at low grade vintage baseball cards. Running at auction tonight. Scrolling through these and talking about them. So, this was a big thing for me, kind of that 2020, 2021 time getting back into cards was these Greg Morris Low Grade Friday auctions. This was back when I was really into vintage baseball quite a bit, getting into this stuff, and I would always look for the affordable copies of these types of cards, and obviously the Low Grade Friday auction, I think a lot of people are aware of this, gets a lot of attention. I don't really buy too many cards from them anymore, really haven't in several years. Or a couple of years, I should say. But it's something I'm just kind of starting to pay attention to again. I don't think it's the best place to go for like value, but who knows? You know, maybe once in a while you'll be able to find something. But you just get so many eyeballs on these cards. It's really a bit too competitive for me. I'd rather look other places. But this was the first card that's kind of stood out. And just for context, I'm recording this Friday pretty early in the morning. So this auction will run tonight. I'll probably post this video later today or tonight. But I'm not really looking to buy. More just looking to kind of get a pulse, kind of looking, see how things are going. But this red Ames I used to have, I think in a PSA like 2, 3, 4 or something like that. And yeah, so it's a card I'd like to get back, basically. So that's why I'm watching it. But I was looking, and I think you can find other copies probably already graded that are probably going to be a better deal. But I've always thought that was a really cool one. So we'll just kind of look through these, see what stands out, and see if anything else is worth watching or potentially bidding on. But like I said, money's tight right now. Not really looking to buy, but you never know. Sometimes the right card just kind of comes along and speaks to you, and the right price and all that kind of thing. So I always like to be prepared. But there's a lot of these, so you got to kind of do this with some level of efficiency. All these Gaudy cards, I like them, but it's just not kind of anything I'm really thinking about right now. Obviously, you know, you'd want to get the Gehrig or, Babe Ruth's not really in my budget, but yeah, nothing there for me at this time. Still here in the 30s. Now we're into the play ball stuff. Even if there is a DiMaggio, it's or a Ted Williams, it's not going to be something for me right now. So we can kind of just scan these fairly quickly. This is the sort of the common, the price range for most people on a budget. If they want to get into some raw vintage, you got to be looking to see what kind of condition issues you can handle, kind of eye appeal you can find. But like I said, it's just really hard to find anything under the radar with these big sellers. Probably better off just buying graded in the PWCC Weekly, but even those are, or not the PWCC, I'm always going to call it that, but in the Fanatics Weekly, but even those are still getting a ton of attention. So best option is probably just buy it now, negotiating offers. And Sid Luckman, I think that's always been a card that's sort of underappreciated. You can see that one's pretty gnarly crease, but yeah, the great Bears quarterback and that early Bowman design. Now we're into the Bowman stuff. So nothing too crazy here standing out to me that we're in 49 Bowman, back to football. Also, even if you're not looking to necessarily bid or buy or anything, this is a great way just to get yourself up to speed on some vintage, just get familiar with the cards, the sets, the prices, the condition issues. like I said, I used to scan these every Friday pretty religiously, and like I said, I don't do that anymore. Every once in a while, a card will sort of pop up on my radar, and then I'll go to sellers' other items and kind of just look through what they've got going on. So now we're in the 51 football stuff, the Bowman. But you can do this pretty. It's not, you don't have to stop and look at every card. I honestly think it's just kind of almost better just to kind of quick scan these and see if that Griffey somehow got listed in the wrong spot, it looks like. And just see, I mean, if a card really speaks to you, it should kind of jump off the page. That's how I feel about it. So I don't feel compelled to read every single one of these listings. Like, I know what, the cards look like and the players and all that kind of stuff. And, every once in a while I'll slow down if I have more time and kind of look things over there. You got a Willie Mays 52. I'm already watching that one, so I must have been one that popped up for me earlier. So, but no need to stop on that now because we're not going to be spending that much on a card today. These Bowman football cards I always thought were really cool. So much of vintage football is not licensed. And I don't even know if you would classify these as licensed, or if it even matters that far back, but at least they have some sort of logo. Like that bear is really cool. No clue who Billy Stone is, but this one's got look like some division on the back of it. But yeah, those are cool. 50s football is nice. I've always liked it. So, but we're not in the market for that today. Now we're getting into some of the more mainstream stuff. 52 tops here. You got the Monty Irvin. That one looks pretty good. Sam Jethro. It's a nice looking card. Always really never liked that card with the low battery mode. It's all right. We'll be done before the battery dies here. Never liked that. I don't know why that was just all that. I don't know. Not a fan of that one. Okay. Let's see here. Bunch of 52. I don't even know what I'm looking for, to be honest. And that's kind of the fun of it, is sort of it when you'll see it type of a deal. Not the biggest fan of 52 tops, to be honest. And another component of this is I'm sort of in the background of my mind doing a little bit of prep for episode 2 of Overthinking Baseball Cards. Dave and I are going to do an exercise, and I need to sort of see. This is a 52 card I would like to have. I've always liked the Joe Black, and I think that's sort of maybe some sort of a short print or something. But I'm not. See, just the prices. That's a nice looking card though. But again, it's just not for me right now when money's pretty tight. So, but this is one that's on my list, quote unquote, down the road. I'll watch it, just get a feel for it, see what other copies are available on the market for buy it now. But it's not a top priority or anything like that. All right, it's just a lot of 52s this week. So, but we're going to do an exercise on the next episode of Overthinking Baseball Cards, and just need to have kind of my wits about me as it relates to my preferences across various eras and such. So I won't say a whole lot more than that, but just this kind of helps me out with that. So, all right, now we're into the Bowman sets. Okay, 53 tops. Campanella's pretty rough. Let's see, that Monty Irvin 53 tops is a great card. I used to have one of those, but I've always liked that one. Johnny Mize, Joe Black used to have that card. I don't have any vintage baseball cards left. I have a few 52 tops, just common players that my dad got at a garage sale or something, but I've sold literally every single vintage card I have has been sold. I put all that into to very rare, scarce, ultra modern. It was a tough decision, but over time, it just became kind of a preference for me. But I would like to eventually get back into vintage, even slowly. There's a satchel. Watch that one. And I don't know what my angle on it would be or what my approach would be. I don't think it would be going for like the big iconic cards first. Maybe it would be. But I've sold my 53 Jackie, sold my 53 Page. I've had a 56 Mantle. I've had like a lot of those in lower grade. So I don't think if I were coming back, it would be to like just rebuy those for way higher prices than I bought them initially. I just don't think that would feel like the right thing to do. So I lean more towards kind of maybe some sort of lower demand players in nicer cards or whatever like that. Like that Joe Black would be one, just sort of a little bit off the radar. But the problem is with vintage baseball, nothing is really off the radar. Everybody kind of knows about everything. There's a lot of everything, but it's still expensive. And just that kind of combination of factors has really bothered me. And it just doesn't line up with my sort of approach towards collecting. Like Ernie Banks is a guy that I would like to potentially think about. You saw there his 56, pretty nice condition too. So maybe that's a little bit of an angle on it. Willie Mays, I think obviously just relative to other cards and players and his talent, I think he's just perpetually underpriced. So maybe that's a little bit of an angle on it that I could take. Here you got the Jim Thorpe. That's a nice one. So yeah, I think about that. Or pitchers maybe. Bob Gibson, Sandy Koufax are guys I've thought about, sort of dabbling with. But yeah, decade-wise, now if we're talking about like the different sets, obviously 56 is really nice. This Clemente is one of my all-time favorite 50s cards. I actually like the look of the 56 better than the 55. This one's obviously not viable, being just cut off like that and whatever. But yeah, the Hank, it's a beautiful card. But as a set, if we're talking about the 50s, I try to think about what my favorite would be. It's not 52. I don't think it's 53. It's not 54. 55, no, maybe. But I tend to, the more I think about it, and I've heard Dylan over there at Double D talk about this before, I do like 58 quite a bit. I don't really like 59 at all. 57's okay. It might be a toss-up between like 55, 56, and 58. I think those are pretty common, preferences that people have. But 56, obviously, or 55, you don't have Mantle, so that hurts a little bit. 57's just not as broadly visually appealing. Like I've got this Willie Mays saved here. Now, if this is a card that went like really, really low, yeah, that's pretty bad though, those creases. Yeah, I don't think I would mess with that one. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see, how's the Hank look here? This is another one of my favorite vintage cards ever. But that's just that card's it's not an expensive enough card to really warrant pivoting down that far. I mean, you can get those are still affordable and nicer looking versions, I think. Here's the Ernie Banks. Let's take a look at that. I think the Ernie Banks in 57 is a great card. Yeah, that one's pretty nice. Yeah, just, rounded corners, but nice centering. Not any really super unappealing creases. Let's take a look at the back. Yeah, that's a nice card. So I'd probably do, this is one I'd probably think about and look at raw copies, but still I bet you can get a graded copy that's probably looks better for a price that's pretty comparable relative to the grading fee and relative to what that one will end at, but we'll see. So the Mantle, that's obviously going to be expensive. That's already not appealing. So So yeah, we're still in the 50s here. Okay, you got Minoso there. Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself and take a drink real quick, but I'll be right back. All right. So Koufax, never been too crazy about that card. It's pretty nice, but yeah. Let's see, we're getting close to 58 here. But yeah, now we're into some basketball. There we go. Not very much 58 baseball, just the Ted Williams. There's the Willie Mays. That's a nice one. Trimmed. No thanks. Pass on that. Always have loved the 58 Unitas. That one's miscut, so I wouldn't do that. But there's the Hank. That's centering. Bit rough. The Clemente. So 58 football is a great set too. The Frank Robinson's great. I don't know though. I don't know if 58 is my favorite. I'd probably, as a set, I'd probably have to go with 55 or 56. But I don't know. It's tough to say. I do think the 58 Mantle is one of the great cards. The 59 Mantle I've never been into. The 58 or 59 Willie Mays I do like. I like that better than the Mantle. I think with the Mantle I just don't like the angle that he's sitting at. I've never really been crazy about that Koufax either. The Hank's great in 59. I do love that card quite a lot. Watch that one. Just little things about the Frank's great in 59. Just little things about the card. The angle of the photograph can make all the difference in the world. And when you're prioritizing and all that kind of I don't like 1960 tops. I've never been a fan of that. I don't know. I don't think it's just because it's horizontal. I think some of the cards are nice. I do like the Bob Gibson, but just broadly speaking, as a set design, I'm not a fan of it. I like the Mantle in 1960, though. I like the Hank. So I like some of the cards, but actually, I do like quite a few of the cards. I just don't like I don't know, something about it. Just never. I think I used to have the Willie Mays, and I sold it. I don't like the Koufax. The Mantle's pretty nice, but I don't know if it's just the way they did their names every other color or what, but something about it's just never kind of felt quite right to me. Okay, 60. I'm not going to be buying any 1960s cards. How much was that Mantle at right now, though? I feel my internet's kind of a little bit slow, is it? Yeah, it is. Kind of. What are we doing here? Okay, here we go. Mickey Mantle. Oh, $316. No thanks. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Now we're into some hockey. Some more football. I don't know how far I'm going to go. I don't really need to go that far. Once we get into like the late 60s and 70s, I really kind of lose interest. And then up into the 80s and 90s, wouldn't really have any reason to look at low-grade cards. Really, the only reason you're looking for low-grade cards is to get affordability on the iconic stuff. The 61 Gibson's nice. That one says miscut, though. 61 tops, again, not crazy about the set. I like the main cards or whatever, the Mantle and... see, I don't even like that Ernie Banks card. Not crazy about the Clemente in 61. I do like the Hank. You got the Roger Maris, obviously. It's a nice card. I like these with the colorful backgrounds. I think those are really nice. But that's not a card you would need to buy in low grade. You could buy that graded already for probably not very much money in a nice grade. So... get some basketball here. Okay, go through all this. There's the 62 Maris. That's a nice one. I think we're talking about 60 sets now. I don't like 60. Not really crazy about 61. I like 62. I like that Ernie Banks. 63. I really like the Mantle. I think I talked about that quite a bit in a couple videos ago. But as a set, do I like 63? Don't know. Let's take a look here and see what feelings kind of. I wish I don't know, that card, man. I'm not sure. That's always been. I don't really like the Willie Mays in 62. I don't think that's a great photograph. I like the Hank a lot. Hank Aaron looks good on most of his cards. Willie Mays has a couple photographs that just aren't the best. Not crazy about the 62 Bob Gibson. Yeah, so I want to look at 63 though. Let's see. Okay, now I like 62 way better than 63. So Ernie Banks, it's okay. I love the 63 Bob Gibson. That's a great card, I think. Bob Gibson looks pretty good on most of his cards and good photographs. Not crazy about the Clemente in 63, the photograph at least. 64, it's okay. I'd say 64 is okay. I like the mantle. Don't really like the Ernie Banks that much. Pete Rose is probably obviously a big card from that year with the Cup. I've never been much of a Pete Rose guy. I've never really been into him that much. Don't really like the Willie Mays with his eyes closed there. So, yeah. If I'm thinking about what my favorite 60s set is, right now I'm leaning towards 62. I'm trying to think if any of the later 60s would contend with that. Now we're into some hockey. 60. I think people like 65, but I'm not really a fan of it. I've never really cared for those little flags in the corner. Those are pretty cool, but I don't know. Maybe it's just not for me. Alright. Man, my internet's a little bit slow here. It's just loading too many cards and going super fast. Not crazy about the photography in 65 either. It's hard to beat those 62s. I got that Batwoman, that Catwoman card saved. That's a nice one. You don't have to buy that in low grade. You can get that pretty affordable. See, I like 66 better than 65. I like the mantle. I like the Ernie Banks. I like the Lou Brock. But again, once you start getting into these, you don't really have to spend down because you can still find pretty nice copies at reasonable prices, I think. So 67 I actually like. I don't know if people like 67, but I think it's pretty nice set. I like the simplicity of it and the big pictures. I like how the team name's just kind of simple and colorful. This big block letters, a facsimile signature. Does it beat 62 for me? No, probably not. But it might be my second favorite 60s set. Now we get into the burlap. 68. I don't mind 68. Would I put it ahead of 67? Would I put it ahead of 67? I think I'd rather go. I love the Bob Gibson in 68. That's tough. 68, 67, 62. As a set, if I'm thinking about it, I'd have to look at all the different cards and kind of think about it. See what the key cards looked like photography-wise. Like, I'm not wild on that Hank there. I do like the Clemente is pretty nice. It's interesting, like some sets players have nice photographs and other players don't. Other sets players have nice photographs and some of the other big players don't. It's just kind of back and forth. But I think once we get to close out the 60s here, I'm going to stop. I really like the mantle in 68. I think that's an awesome card. Let's watch that one. The Ernie Banks with that Cubs logo. That's cool. So, all right. And you got 69. It's sort of, I feel like 69 is just kind of a watered down version of 67. So give me 67 over 69. Not crazy about that, Bob Gibson. So, all right, well, let's call it. Yeah, we'll see if I go after any cards tonight. I highly doubt it, but it's always fun to look, learn, and kind of think about things. And yeah, can't go wrong looking at some baseball cards, right? So, all right, hope everybody has a great weekend. Get some cool cards, and we'll see you again soon. Later, everybody.